Marcus Williams spent 37 years behind bars, serving a life sentence for armed robbery. But the real prison wasn't the walls of Folsom. It was the endless loop of regret and invisible wounds that haunted him every night. Night after night, he dreamed of his childhood, watching himself from above, as if observing his own ghost playing in his grandmother's garden. Freedom felt like a memory he had never truly lived. One ordinary Tuesday, while lying on his narrow bunk, Marcus noticed a cockroach flipped on its back, tiny legs flailing helplessly in the air. Most inmates would have crushed it or ignored it, but something made Marcus stop. He watched. Minute after minute, he silently willed the little creature to succeed. Against all odds, the cockroach righted itself and scurried away. A trivial moment, perhaps, but something within Marcus shifted. That night, he dreamed again. But this time, he wasn't a child in the garden. He was standing in front of a convenience store in 1987, gun in hand, heart pounding. Words echoed in his ears. Words he had spoken 37 years ago. Just give me the money, and nobody gets hurt. But now, in the dream, he saw the store clerk's face clearly for the first time. A man in his 60s, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Eyes that reminded Marcus of his grandfather. The same grandfather who had once taught him how to sand wood smooth as silk. Marcus woke up with tears on his face. The next morning, he searched for the cockroach. There it was, in the corner, meticulously cleaning its antennae. He watched it navigate around a dried piece of food, climb over a dust bunny, and vanish into a crack in the wall. Such a simple journey, yet the creature moved with what Marcus could only call purpose. As the Buddha once said in the Dhammapada, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. And Marcus began to think differently. He started watching the cockroach every day. It became a kind of meditation, though he never called it that. He simply observed. The way it explored, the way it persisted, the way it moved without anger, without complaint, without dragging the past. Weeks turned to months. As Marcus observed the cockroach, old memories surfaced. He remembered how his grandfather used to say, "Marcus, every choice is a seed. You plant anger, you harvest storms." He remembered his mother whispering prayers over him at night, prayers he had once pretended not to hear, but secretly cherished. One evening, 6 months after his first encounter with the cockroach, Marcus sat down to write a letter. Not to a lawyer, not to his family, but to Mrs. Patterson, the widow of the store clerk he had robbed decades ago. He wrote of his remorse, of how her husband's kindness, even in fear, had planted a seed in him that took 37 years to grow. As he folded the letter, the cockroach appeared again in the corner, carrying out its small rituals with quiet dignity. Marcus realized something that took his breath away. He and the cockroach were the same. Both trapped, both surviving, both carrying invisible burdens. But the cockroach had something Marcus was only beginning to understand. It moved through life without the weight of yesterday. The letter took Marcus 3 days to finish. When he was done, he looked at the cockroach one more time and whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, the cockroach was gone. Marcus never saw it again. 2 years later, at age 64, Marcus was released on parole. But the real release had happened much earlier in that cell, watching a tiny teacher show him what persistence, presence, and grace looked like. Karma, Marcus realized, is not a cosmic scoreboard keeping track of our mistakes. It's an echo. The harm we cause, the kindness we receive, the cycles we repeat until we choose to see. As the Buddha said in the Lotus Sutra, the true nature of all beings is to awaken, not to be perfect, not to avoid suffering, but to awaken through it. Marcus now lives quietly in Oakland. He volunteers at a community garden, teaching children how to plant seeds with patient hands. The children call him Mr. Marcus. They don't know his story. They only know he never loses patience, even when their seeds don't sprout right away. Have you ever wondered why certain moments of kindness feel strangely familiar? As if you're remembering rather than experiencing them for the first time? Do you believe that the teachers we need most might be the ones we never thought to notice? If this story touched a part of you that feels unfinished, you'll be back. Because some truths don't leave you alone. They wait, quietly, until you're ready to listen. When you find yourself watching the small creatures that share your world, the ant carrying its burden, the bird rebuilding its nest, the flower pushing through concrete, remember Marcus and his teacher. Remember that enlightenment often wears the most ordinary faces. If this story touched you, leave a word in the comments, even just peace. Let's build a space of compassion and truth together. Sometimes you don't find the Dharma. The Dharma finds you again and again.